And who else? Jay Hess. Who is Mr. Hess? What project are you here for today?
Yeah. Mute. Unmute.
Mr. Hess or Mrs. Hess? I'm sorry. What project are you here for today?
Highlands.
So I can't.
Highland, I think there's a message.
Oh, Highland. Okay, sounds good.
Yeah.
Right. Thank you. 1024.
They're the owners.
Are they the owner? Oh, okay. Sounds good. Good. And Chris Kolstad, what project are you here for?
Yes, I'm here.
Well, which project are you here for today?
Sorry?
What
I'm the owner of 270 Sunkist.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you.
Okay.
Good. Just trying to account for everybody so I can quickly highlight who's here for which items. So thank you. So we're at 7:03, Chair Ma, and I believe everybody's been accounted for. So whenever you want to start.
Okay, yeah, I see Commissioner Carrick is coming onto the screen. All right.
Finishing,
I was
finishing
hiding.
his dinner. Yeah.
Yeah,
finishing
we
my dinner.
all saw it. We all saw it. Anyway, welcome everyone. Good evening. Welcome to today's Design Review Commission meeting. Today is Wednesday, May 19th, 2021. Before I begin, I would like to establish a quorum. By the order I see on my screen, I'm gonna roll call. Commissioner Harding.
Here.
Commissioner Carrick.
Here.
Commissioner Blockus.
Here.
And Commissioner Bishop is absent.
Yeah.
And myself. So we have 4 out of 5 commissioner. We do have a quorum. So today's agenda, the special item number 1, election, we have to postpone again.
Yes.
To next time.
Yes.
Okay. Do we need to vote again to postpone it?
Yes, you do.
Okay. All right. Still, by the order I see on the screen, Commissioner Harding.
Yes. So the
sorry.
motion.
Yeah,
Is there a
motion?
motion?
The motion.
Yes.
So
Sorry.
moved. And second, and yes.
All right. It's Commissioner Carrick.
Aye.
Commissioner Blockus.
Aye.
Motion, and myself, aye. Motion approved, 4-0. We will postpone the election to next DRC meeting. Move on to the consent calendar, number 2. That's the approval for the minutes from last regular meeting, May 5th. Who would like to move a motion?
I move that we accept the minutes.
Any
I second. I second.
Okay. Roll call again to vote. I'll start with Commissioner Blockus this time.
Aye.
Commissioner Carrick.
Aye.
Commissioner Harding.
Aye.
And myself, aye. Motion approved on the minutes, 4-0. Okay. Continue to our next item. That's the discussion. Project number SC 20-0016 for 16 Middlebury Lane. Would like to have the staff to make a presentation. Mr. Golden.
Oh, sorry. I see I was muted. I'm sharing my screen right now, so can everybody see that?
Yep.
Okay, thanks. So I'm Steve Golden, Senior Planner. So the project before you is in addition to an existing two-story house. Sorry, I'm having a little computer issue. Okay, here we go. So the house is in the Middlebury Manor subdivision. That neighborhood is on the north side of University Avenue, and it's a cul-de-sac development. All the houses in that development are two-story houses, and it is best defined as a consistent character neighborhood according to the city's residential design guidelines. Again, the houses are all two-story. They're predominantly have the structures haven't changed since their original construction. They have very similar styles consisting of hipped or gable roofs, similar scales, wall plate heights and massing, similar kind of exterior materials. With regards to the property at 16 Middlebury Lane, it is at the end of that cul-de-sac. The rear property line abuts the Adobe Creek, and it's also the city's boundary. So directly behind the property, there's a roadway and some open space area that's actually owned by the town of Los Altos, so there's no residences to the immediate rear. Like the other project that came to the commission on May 5th, this project also is within a special flood hazard area. And I won't go into the details, which is noted in the agenda report, but this project also had to go through a LOMR, which is a letter of map amendment, or sorry, a letter of map revision, which because of some of the regulatory nature of this specific flood zone area. But it did go through that process, and they actually got that approval from FEMA at the end of January. So that's one of the reasons why this project was a little bit prolonged getting to the commission, because they had to get through that FEMA process. So moving on, with regards to the actual proposal, it is an existing two-story residence. It's this pie-shaped lot. The project includes 648 square feet at the first story, and that's 648 square feet at the first story and 278 square feet to the second story, and those are represented by the light green areas. And then the project also includes unenclosed structures, which is the front covered porch and a rear covered patio, which doesn't contribute to the floor area, but it contributes to the lot coverage. And those are represented by the light pink colors. So by and large, the building footprint will be maintained with this proposal, with those minor expansions that do meet all the required setbacks. With that being said, the front yard setback is maintained at 56 feet. The rear setback is proposed to be 66 feet, which far exceed the city's 25-foot setbacks for both front and rear. Along the left-hand side, there's a slight encroachment into the setback, but the proposal will correct that nonconformity, and the resulting setbacks on both the left and right-hand side will be 10 feet for the first story and 17.5 feet for the second story, which again conforms to the R110 zoning district. Moving on, with regards to the actual changes, I'm going to just kind of go through a couple slides with the proposed structure on the top the top part of the slide, and the existing elevation on the bottom portion of the slide. So this is the front elevation. The elements that they're adding here that you can see is raising the first floor ceiling height approximately 1 foot. They're adding the front gable over that front entry. And they're adding that rounded exterior wall to the second story, which is the location of the stairway. So overall, you can also tell with this front elevation that the height of the structure is increasing approximately 1.5 feet. They're modifying some of the roof forms and the visual appearance of the structure, but overall the massing of the structure is not significantly changing. The scale is maintained, and the increased wall heights and the roof forms are really in proportion with this structure and the existing residences in the surrounding area. Also, you'll note that those changes to the front elevation, and once we get into the rear, they do add some articulation to the building, and they break up those horizontal eave lines and kind of larger expanses of roof area. So overall, this is it's a positive change and in line with residential design guidelines. And then to the rear, similar, there's articulation added to the structure, breaking up that rear wall plane with the addition of that porch area, covered patio at the rear. And then you also note on the right rear side, which is the left-hand side of this photo, there's the addition in that location at the first story. There is increased glazing to the second story windows, but those windows are fairly similar in their placement to the existing. And since it's such a large rear yard area and no residences to the rear in that pie-shaped lot, there's less of a privacy concern to those surrounding neighbors. With regards to this is the left elevation. Again, the first story is going to be rebuilt to conform to the setback. The wall plate height is going to increase by about 1 foot, but they are removing that gable end on the first story, which is that side-facing gable, which is generally an overall improvement because those side-facing gables can sometimes feel a little bit overbearing on those side neighbors. With regards to windows, they're on the second story. They're adding 2 windows, but they're very small and they have very high sill heights. So that's in line with previous direction from the Design Review Commission. And real quick, the right elevation, again, there's an addition to that rear area. You can see the covered porch in this elevation at the covered patio to the rear. They are adding a couple windows at the second story, and with 4.5 foot sill height. So again, in line with previous direction from the Design Review Commission to reduce potential privacy impacts. This is the landscape plan. Primarily, they're going to try to maintain the existing landscaping with this proposal because the majority of the structure is going to be maintained and the footprint is not going to be significantly changed. They are removing 3 trees. There was an arborist report that was submitted and staff is in support of removing those trees. However, one of those, which I think is mislabeled here, it's at the rear of that 26-inch sycamore. I believe that's the tulip tree, but regardless, we're recommending to replace it with one Category 2 or 3 size tree. There are a number of other trees on the property, so they're removing 3, and we're asking for one to be replaced because it is a significant tree based on the circumference. It is sort of this pie-shaped lot, so, and with those very small windows, we're not terribly concerned about the privacy impacts to the side neighbors. They have provided some evergreen screening. Again, in the agenda report, we're recommending to shift that that screening and shift it a little bit further back, so they're screening more of that view directly from those second-story windows to the rear and outward to the side. So shifting those evergreen plants back will provide a little bit more mitigation for any of those views. With that, I think that concludes my presentation. Just to note, the applicant did provide correspondence with the 2 abutting property owners, and then there was also a 3rd property owner that provided input from across the street on the cul-de-sac side. They were all in support of the project, and we have not received any other correspondence. And the applicant is here to answer some questions, but I don't believe they have a formal presentation for you. So with that, I can answer any questions that you might have.
All right, thank you, Steve. Any question from the commissioner for Steve, for the staff?
I have a question. Steve, it's just a little unclear. Are they completely rebuilding the 2nd story after they raise the plate heights on the 1st story? Is that what they're doing?
We haven't seen the structural plans, but it kind of appears that way. I think that would be a question to ask the applicant, who will be constructing the project as well.
All right, I'll ask them. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Any other question from commissioners? All right. That's the case. We will call the applicant. Either the property owner or the architect would like to speak. Is the owner or architect on this project present?
Yes. Let me pull them up for you.
Yeah, that'll be Jonathan and Ralph.
Yeah, let me just unmute them.
Okay.
Ralph. And
Hello.
there he is. There's Jonathan.
Hi, I believe there was a question about the 2nd floor.
Yes.
No, we will not be demolishing the 2nd floor. In order to raise that plate height up, we'll just use hydraulic jacks and beams in place. It's something we've done many times. It's sort of a specialty of ours.
I want to come by and watch that because I haven't seen that done. So
I'll tell you, it's even more interesting when you lift the entire house and pour a basement underneath. Now that's fun.
we've done that and we've dragged homes, but I haven't seen somebody hydraulically lift a 2nd story. But the question is, what are you going to do with the 1st story walls? Are you just going to add structure on top of the 8-foot studs, or are you rebuilding the walls below?
Well, let me answer that. So some of the walls will be receiving a header on top, the ones that stay in place, because essentially the footprint of the house is staying where it is, and we're expanding in some areas. The walls do scramble a little bit, so but the walls that don't scramble, we may be supporting in place by attaching a header on top, but the exteriors will all be new longer studs.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Any other question from commissioner for the for architect or the property owner applicants? If no, I have a question. Continuing Commissioner Keurig's question. So the question is, looks like you are gonna raise the ground floor ceiling for about 2 feet, right? Or 1 foot?
It's currently 8 feet now, the
Uh-huh.
ceiling. And
Okay.
it's gonna end up somewhere in the 9 feet and change.
Okay. Okay. So you pretty much raise about, see, I see the front elevation, say rough ceiling, first floor is 10 feet. And then the the front elevation show rough ceiling 8'1". So just from the front elevation, are you talking about, let me see. Yeah, first floor. So it looks like on the side elevation, you'll also indicate rough ceiling, first floor, 10 feet. So that's why something I'm not very clear.
That's
Are you raising
from,
1 foot or 2 feet?
it's, I think, let me see what you're looking at, because
It is, what's happening here is the existing floor is called out at a lower elevation than what the existing floor of the proposed is called out at. So the calculations are started from a different spot, but they all equal the same thing. It's raising 1 foot.
Okay.
Well, look,
Okay.
yeah, it looks to be 1 foot, 4, 5 inches.
Okay. All right.
Yes, that's, 'cause I knew it was somewhere in the middle of 9 feet, because if you look at, one of the measurements is from the ground level, not from the finished floor level.
Mm-hmm.
But if you notice somehow that, I don't know why, it appears to be a software glitch or something, but we've got the existing floor labeled at 0.1, and then on the proposed plan, it's listed as 0.7, and everything from thereafter. I don't know why there's that discrepancy, but yeah.
All right. So, yeah, I'm just kind of looking at the second floor. It used to be the second finished floor looks, anyway. So it looks like as long as you guys are clear. I don't have any further question. All right, that's fine. Okay, if do you guys have anything to let us know during this time, during your time frame duration? You want to add on anything to the staff presentation from the architect or the owner?
No, I think the staff report was well put together.
Okay. Okay, if that's the case, we're gonna, okay, not yet. Do we have anyone, Guido, do we have anyone from the neighbor or public want to speak on this project before we close for public?
Chair Ma, the only person not accounted for was Randy, who's on the call. If you want to.
Chair Ma, I have a question for the applicant.
Sure, oh, okay. Is it
Dave.
Commissioner Black? Okay. Yeah, go ahead. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm a little confused on the removal of the largest tree there. Looked at it, of course, I'm not an arborist, but the tree looked pretty good, and it seemed like reasoning to keep it or to keep it in relatively good shape would be just taking the grass around, cutting that out to give it a decent area to grow. So can you explain specifically why that tree is being removed?
So you're talking about tree number 4, 20-inch sycamore?
It's the one next to the pool that's in the picture with the red circle. It's a tulip tree, I guess.
Yes, so that's a question for the applicant, correct?
For anyone who wants to answer it.
Yeah. So the reason for removing it is essentially just the difficulty of the maintenance of it, and how it's kind of overgrown its welcome in the area, and they have a lot of trees on the property already. So they have extensive surface roots that are pretty intrusive. And there's an issue with the drippings of the tree. And according to the arborist, it hasn't been maintained very well from a trimming standpoint, structure-wise. And the homeowner was ready to remove it. So they'll be glad to replace it with a tree, better place for them on the lot.
Yeah, because when I was there and looked at it, it doesn't look like the picture. The picture there kind of looks like a dead tree. The one that was there was full of foliage. I didn't notice an excessive amount of roots or anything. It did have grass underneath it. And I don't know if staff, maybe you can help. Does it fall under? I thought it fell under a protected tree because of its size. Is that correct or incorrect, staff?
Yeah, any tree over 48 inches in circumference or about 15 inches, 16 inches in diameter would be protected tree.
Okay, and what is this? So this one's this one's 27.4, correct?
Yeah, according to the arborist, the diameter is 27.4 inches.
Okay, so it's well,
or 90 inches in circumference.
okay, so it's substantially above the 48 in circumference, correct? Is that?
Yeah, it's above 48 inches. That would be considered protected.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
What if I could just mention, I'm just looking at the revisiting the arborist report, and I'm looking at his overall condition is poor for this tree. And species of overcome. Yeah, anyway. He's not, the arborist doesn't seem to be too big on the tree. We use him all the time too. He's a pretty astute arborist.
As I look at it, it says it's poor structure. It has surface roots and aphids.
And then to the right of that, to the immediate right of it, it says overall condition 45% poor.
Correct. Okay.
Okay. So do you have any more question, Commissioner Blocks? That's all for you, right?
Nope, that's it. That's it.
Okay, all right. Anyone from the public would like to speak? Otherwise, we're gonna close for public session. We're gonna have a discussion among the commissioner.
Let me verify, Chair Mott. So
Okay.
John Galley, are you here for which item tonight? No, he hasn't answered.
He is the owner of 16 Middlebury.
Oh, okay. All right, sounds good. And then the last person unaccounted for, Chair Ma, is Randy. Give him a couple seconds.
All right.
Other than that, I don't believe anybody else is here for this item, Chair Ma.
Oh, okay. So who's Randy?
He has not identified himself, so I don't know
Oh, I
what
see.
he's here for. So
Got it. Okay. No problem. All right. So we're gonna have an internal discussion among commissioner. Anyone would like to start? Commissioner Carrick? It looks like you're ready.
Sure, I'm ready. Well, to me, this is a very straightforward project. You know, it's in a neighborhood that's well established, all built at the same time. So truly it meets the intent of the design guidelines. And given that it backs up to the, the town border and the open space, there's no impacts whatsoever on the adjoining neighbors. My only concern is I think the drawings are a little unclear. Got two architects here who are kind of puzzled as to what's going on. So I would encourage, that to be clarified. But given how they're going to do this and what they're going to do, I am supportive of the application as is.
Okay, thank you. Who want to be second, Commissioner Blockus?
Yeah, I don't necessarily need to repeat what Commissioner Kurt has said. I'm a little concerned about the tree. I think it could be saved, and I think it probably could be, brought to better health. But I'm not a tree expert. I'm just out there looking at it, and it looked pretty healthy, and it looked like some of the remedies that the arborist said would help could be done. But I don't think that's a definite no. Do not approve it. So.
All right, thank you. Thank you, Commissioner Blockus. Commissioner Harding?
Yeah, I like the project as well, and I would vote in favor.
All right, thank you. Okay, so for me, I'm in favor of the project. The design is good. There's no privacy concern. Like what the commissioner says, in the back is a creek, and then it's pretty surrounded by the tree. So everything's good on the design. You're just concerned about the tree. I'm hoping the staff can look into that tree again, tree number 4. And actually, it's not very clear because the drawing on A4, the site plan indicate tree number 4 is a 20-inch sycamore, but on the arborist report, it's a tulip. So that's why I got confused a little bit in the beginning. So it's a large tree, even though it's poor, but maybe just like what Commissioner Blockus asked, the staff should be paying some careful attention to that one, maybe look closely. Otherwise, I like the design and everything. So are we ready to for a motion?
Yeah, I'll make a motion.
Okay,
If
go
we
ahead.
approve, yeah, I'm good. We approve SC 20-0016-16 Middlebury Lane with the listed findings and conditions.
Okay. Anyone want a second?
Second.
Okay. Gonna go around to vote. Commissioner Couric?
Should there be some discussion on the motion?
Okay, sure. Go ahead.
Well, since two commissioners have brought up the tree, should there be some additional condition that the applicant shall work with the town arborist to make sure that the tree is eligible for removal? Or is that already a condition in there?
Do we have a town arborist? I didn't know that. Do we have the city? Does the city have an arborist?
I have a
review it?
very limited contract that I use for very specific cases. We could certainly use it for this one, but yeah, I have a very small budget for that, so I have to be very conscious of when I use that. So that's, yeah.
Okay, and we certainly can make that as a condition.
Okay.
Anything
Well,
else?
I'm just throwing that out there just because, once again, I heard it from two commissioners, so might want to consider that.
Yeah, I agree with the Commissioner Blockus. From when I was there and then from the picture and everything, it looks healthy to me, even though I'm not an expert. When I was there, I did not look closely to that tree, but just from a general feeling. So I think it's worthwhile, especially with the size and the presence right now. It's worthwhile to have a second opinion.
Okay.
All right. Anything else? Want to add that on? Or want to discuss any other items on this one? Okay. So why don't Commissioner Harding continue with the motion?
Well, let's see. are you asking me to make the amendment to the motion? Or I made the motion and it got seconded, I think, and then discussion, but do other commissioners want to add a condition?
I'd like to just get some further clarity on the tree's health. You know, the arborist report is a little bit confusing. And again, I looked specifically at the tree to see it, and I didn't notice, you know, I didn't see any sap, but I don't know when it saps. Underneath it, you know, there's an area further away, closer to Los Altos Hills, that obviously had a tree there that had root problems, and there's a bunch of roots there, but I didn't see anything, you know, trip hazard or anything like that of roots underneath. And it talks about in that report that, you know, everyone who has these types of trees or builds trees now on lawns cuts the lawn back under the root area to allow for better growth of the root. I would just hate to, you know, if it is in poor health and that type of thing, which it says it's, you know, 40% or 50% or whatever, does that mean that it's definitely in 3 years going to die? Or it says it's a mature tree and it will just continue on its present path. I just think the actual report is a little bit confusing, and it appears to me, and I don't mean this to come out the way that it does, that the report is basically put some stuff in the report to get it to go through, because the final summary of it was, you know, it should be taken out for the long-term health of the project. It's not necessarily a tree, but the house itself is great. You know, if the tree was 20 feet away from the pool, I would be a little bit more forceful and say, hey, don't remove the tree, or definitely have something that shows that this tree is going to fail on its own and be a problem, and that type of thing. You know, my concern would be that the tree could potentially cause problems to the pool. Maybe they're expanding the pool under the new permit or whatever to make it larger, but it doesn't look like the tree canopy affects the house. I don't know, or they just want to get rid of the tree because the tree doesn't fit into what their current use is. And, you know, this would be a good time because they're building the house, you know, expanding the house. I just don't know.
I think we need to respect that also. Just what you said is that they've lived with this tree for, maybe they even planted it. And it has changed in its current condition to be a negative for their plan going forward. I think that's an important consideration.
Correct.
Chairman,
But we have, you know, protected tree classes, you know, for a particular reason. You know, I've got 3 trees surrounding my house that are, you know, 90-foot pines that drop pine needles into my pool every day. I would love for them to be cut down just because it's a nuisance, but it's also, you know, a big, gorgeous, beautiful tree. You know, I guess what I'm saying, I'd like to get a better report on it. And whether that has the original guy redo it, or you know, have the applicant have a different company write up on specifically that tree, I don't know. But at the end of the day, I don't want to stop the applicant from getting the house that they want, which this doesn't. It's just an issue with the tree.
Chairman,
Okay.
this is Steve Golden.
Go ahead. Steve.
So it sounds like if the majority of the commissioners want to protect the tree, staff would recommend that there would be a motion to amend condition number 3 and state that that tree number 3,
number 4.
right, but I would say 3 and 9 is approved for removal, and tree 4 shall be retained unless further reviewed by the community development director for removal. And we can work with the applicant. I think we've heard what you're saying. It is very similar to what we do for review when we get these outside of a design review application. And so we can follow that same process as far as looking at the arborist report if we think there should be another consulting arborist, or have the existing arborist on record provide more justification, then we can do that. But at this point in time, the observation that the tree is not within the footprint of the residence, so it potentially can be preserved.
Okay, so we'll just make amendments to the motion to defer the removal of that tree to the staff for further review.
Sure.
Does that make sense?
Okay.
Tree number 4. Is that what
Tree
we're
number 4.
Okay.
Tree number 4, yeah, and it is per the arborist report. It's a tulip tree, not a sycamore. So
Okay.
Correct.
Yep.
All right, go ahead. Commissioner Hardy, you want to continue to amend?
Add as you stated, that tree number 4 be further examined for its sustainability.
Okay. All right. Anyone want to second that for the motion?
I second. I
Okay.
second.
All right, I'm gonna call to vote. Commissioner Carrick,
Aye.
Commissioner Blackus,
Aye.
Commissioner Harding,
Aye.
myself, aye. Motion approved, 4-0. Thank you. All right, so let's move on to our next item on the agenda. That's SC 20-0021 for 1024 Highland Circle. Please, staff have the presentation. Go ahead.
Good evening, Chair Ma and Commissioners. The project before you is a design review application for a 2-story addition to an existing 1-story house. The project includes an addition of 422 square feet on the 1st story and 677 square feet, oh, sorry, jumped ahead, on the 2nd story. The slide provides a rendering of the proposed structure with the 2nd story addition to the existing house. On the left side is the right side of the structure. The center and right upper pictures provide the front and the front of the structure. The lower photograph in the center provides the rear elevation of the proposed 2nd story addition. This is provided as, I believe, the last plan sheet in your plan set. The applicant is proposing a 422 1st-story addition that is located along the rear. That is the grade portion of the structure along the rear. And a 677 square foot addition is also located at the right side of the residence behind their primary ridge line. So this hatched structure is the 2nd story addition for you. The subject property is located on an interior lot on Highland Circle between Kent Drive and Scott Lane. The surrounding neighborhood is considered consistent character neighborhood as defined in the residential design guidelines. Along Highland Circle, there are primarily 1-story ranch-style houses that are similar in size, footprint, design characteristics, building scale, and rustic materials. One neighboring house, I should correct, is being rebuilt at 1025 Highland Circle, but it does maintain a similar scale and form. Front yard setbacks along this street appear to be roughly 25 feet from front property lines. The lower scale, the lower 422 square foot portion, again, is along the right rear of the structure, and that'll be an addition off the one-story structure on the right rear. The 677 square foot second story addition is located along the right rear behind, directly behind or directly in front of the primary ridge line of the structure. The existing house itself has traditional ranch architectural styles with hipped roof forms, low scale forms and simple details. The project has low eave lines, which are appropriate in keeping with the lower profile of adjacent homes. The height of the structure is proposed at 20.8 feet, which is approximately 6 feet below the permitted height of 27 feet. The proposed second story is positioned behind or along the primary ridge line to diminish the perception of overall bulk. The massing of the second story is significantly smaller than the first story, although the stairwell cantilevers beyond the vertical planes of the right elevation, the placement of the second story does help to mitigate impacts of perceived height and bulk. Overall, staff does believe the design incorporates a level of detail and lower scale massing that breaks up massing along the front and sides. On the right southwest side elevation of the second story, the applicant is proposing 2 windows, one small window in the master bathroom, and one small 2-panel window in the stairwell. The windows have 5-foot sill heights and do not create any unreasonable privacy impacts. On the left northeast side, there are 2 windows being proposed, a large 3-panel bay window in the master bedroom with a 1-foot 8-inch sill height, and one small window in the master bathroom with a 5-foot sill height. Staff does believe the master bedroom window with the high 5-foot sill height will not create a potential for privacy impacts. The low sill window may be perceived to create potential privacy impacts. The applicant is proposing to retain the red oak tree number 6 along the left property line, the 2 cedar trees number 1 and 2, and the palm tree and the crabapple tree in the rear yard, which staff believes will help minimize privacy impacts to neighboring properties. To ensure that there are no additional privacy impacts, the applicant is proposing to add fast-growing evergreen screening along the left property line to maintain a reasonable degree of privacy. In addition, this addition is set back quite a distance from the side property line. It is approximately 56 feet from the left property line, which provides a significant reduction in potential privacy impacts with a combination of setback of 56 feet, existing tree coverage, and the proposed evergreen screening, which staff believes will reduce potential privacy impacts to a reasonable degree. On the rear elevation, the applicant is proposing 3 small windows with 5-foot sill heights. Staff does believe that due to the window sizes and the sill heights that they will not create unreasonable privacy impacts. Due to the scope of the work being limited to 422 square feet at the first story at the ground level, the applicant is expecting to preserve existing landscaping. Therefore, the applicant did not provide a detailed landscape plan for re-landscaping the entire site with the plan set. The site plan does reflect the project will preserve existing shrubs and ground cover type plants throughout the site. In addition to preserving the existing vegetation, the project will be installing new evergreen screening and preserving trees on site. If the applicant during the building construction phase does in fact rehabilitate more than 2,500 square feet of landscaping, condition number 4 will require the project to comply with the city's water efficient regulations, which will require rehabilitating the landscaping on the site consistent with those rules. The applicant has provided the staff an outreach letter. I'd like to apologize, I did not include it in your packet. I did email it to each of you. What the letter does indicate is, as reflected in this drawing, is that they or in this diagram, is they provided and reached out to the surrounding properties with the stars, the 7 properties on Yorkshire, Highlands, and on Kent Drive. And they could speak more directly to the results of that outreach to each of them, to each of the surrounding property owners. This concludes staff's presentation, unless there are any questions. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Sean. Commissioner, any question for the staff?
No.
No.
Okay, I don't have any question. So let's see if the property owner or the architect would like to speak on this item.
I believe Terry Martin.
Yes, I'll be speaking to start off with at least. My name's Terry Martin. I'm the project architect. Good evening, Chair Ma and commissioners. Kind of wanted to go over a little bit of history on the project. We started back in July of 2020, met with staff, kind of looked at what we could do with this project, right? There'd been a fairly substantial remodel done to the interior of the project. You know, the center part of that had been remodeled, you know, a few years back. Then in October of 2020, we went and did some more intense revisions, which kind of created the stair tower you see today, you know, and let it, instead of the normal mass of it coming out and being a bigger element, we decided to pull down that mass of the stair tower. Then at the first of the year, we did our submittal. We've gone back and forth with planning 2 or 3 times, you know, to where we find ourselves today at this hearing. We have met with all the neighbors. Every neighbor is in agreement with the proposal. I have not heard any negatives at all, and no change this or change that. Everybody's okay with the screen trees that are being added. There's a potential that house may be sold. So therefore, that is a reason why those trees will still be there. The existing neighbor doesn't really care about them. The addition is really a master suite and a home office. After what's been going on this year, everybody can see why the home offices are becoming a little bit more popular. We are in agreement with the staff report and everything that was stated in it. We have no issues or anything, conditions that we want to add or remove. On my office, the owners are here tonight. We're here to answer any questions you may have. Looking for your approval, hopefully. Yeah, that's what I have for tonight.
All right, thank you. Any question from the commissioner to the architect?
Chairman, I did want to ask out of respect to the property owner.
Oh, okay, sorry.
Mr. Hess, did you want to make any additional, because you're allotted 10 minutes between you and your architect, so.
We're happy to listen to the proceedings and have Terry speak for us.
Okay.
Thank you.
No problem.
All right, so Guido, we can proceed to see if any question from commissioner, right?
Yes.
Okay, all right. Anyone?
No, I have no questions of the architect.
I have none.
I had one question for the architect. And I'm just curious on section AA, you know, the roof line that covers the staircase doesn't come off the main roof line. It nestles under the eave. And not that this is really a design review question, but more of a, what's this going to look and feel like on the inside? The ceiling as you go down the staircase is going to be very low. And I'm wondering why you didn't choose to shed that roof down and just make it a cleaner form.
Well, in all honesty, I did try to shed that roof down and pull it off. And one of the directions that we had through plan review with staff was to actually break that mass. Internally, the way that it sets up, there's actually a couple of feet before you get to where that steps down. So it won't be completely in your face, and you'll be dropping down. You know, we'll have well over 7 feet, 8 feet at that location. So as much as, yeah, I would like to come off that roof, it wasn't a direction that we had.
Okay, well, I could see how that solution came up, but I just think there's further problems because the way the stair starts earlier in the plan versus at that line may, you know, make some ceiling adjustments in the spaces below. So I don't know. I just encourage you to look at it again.
Yeah, Commissioner Kirk, I would actually really like to do that, and I have no problem having it actually shed off. It looks like we have plenty of room from the side, you know, view line, so I think we're okay with that also. So if it's at the direction of of Sean, that would be fine. That, you know, we could review with them.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Any other question? Otherwise, I have one question still about the stair. The large window at that stair of the landing, I mean, that looks pretty large. As do you guys, I mean, is that can the architect discuss? Is like, is that, I know it looks like the existing tree along the side yard should pretty much screen that off for privacy to the neighbor. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Absolutely, and quite honestly, you know, there's no intention for that to be a clear glass window, right? Because view planes go both ways, right? And that is their master suite. So, you know, more than likely it'll be a seated glass or a, you know, kind of a cracked glass. So you'll get the light, because it's really all about getting light into that stair tower. It's not as much about getting the view out or the view in for the window itself.
Okay. It looks like on the elevation you indicated opaque, right? I mean,
Correct.
it's kind of, okay.
Correct.
I just want to make sure. Okay.
And the only thing I want to clarify is we use that word opaque as in, you know, the white kind of glass you've seen in the past. That's not necessarily the intent. The intent with opaque is that you can't see through it.
Yeah.
And so, but it'll be something really cool.
Okay. All right.
I would love to have them do it stained glass, you know, with a lot of color and stuff like that. I think that would look really cool. But
okay, but it's gonna be a fix, obscure, frosted, you know, stained, but it's not clear. That's
yes.
why. Okay, all right. That's why
I think the owners are going with their heads up and down, so they're in agreement.
Yeah. Okay, all right. Okay, I have no further question. All right, thank you. Okay. Before we have a commissioner discussion, we'd like to see, Guido, see if we have anyone from the public who would like to talk about this item, would like to speak?
I do not believe so, Chair Ma. No one has stepped forward. So.
Okay, all right. So we will have our discussion among commissioner who would like to talk to. Who would like to speak first?
I'll go first again.
Okay.
2 for 2 tonight.
right.
First of all, I think it's a very modest proposal, and I think it's very well done, and the location of the addition makes sense to me. So I think it respects the neighbors, and I think it's a good example of how to do a second-story addition in a neighborhood like this, especially on a stepping, you know, sloping street. So good work. I would just encourage them, and maybe we can do this through the motion, to I think the stair can be resolved a little cleaner and to make it a little more functional for the residents or the occupants of the house, because I think it's a little glitchy as it is right now as they move through the house. So all in all, I'm in favor of the project.
All right. Thank you. Commissioner Harding?
Yes, I like it, and I'm also in favor of the project.
All right. Commissioner Blackus?
In favor of it.
Okay. All right. Yeah. Same for me. You know, the design is nice, and the impact is very minimal for second floor addition. I do want to bring up something, but this is very minor. Those 3 screening tree proposed under that large tree. I'm just curious. It's like based on what I know from arborists or from landscape architect all the time, some smaller tree planted under a large tree would be difficult to survive in the long term. So, I think that big tree is already, good enough for the privacy screening. So I'm just bringing it up, but this is not gonna be a condition for me. I'm just gonna bring it up for your information. So with that being said, are we ready for a motion? Who would like to, okay.
Well, I'll go ahead and add it, and I'm doing this off the computer here, but I move that we approve SC 20-0021, the project at 1024 Highland Circle for the findings and conditions as listed in the staff report, with the additional condition that the applicant be granted latitude to work with staff to revise the stair tower's roof line to be more integrated.
Second.
Great. Would like
Second.
to, okay, let's have a vote. Let's start with Commissioner Blockus.
Aye.
Commissioner Carrick.
Aye.
Commissioner Harding.
Aye.
And myself, aye. Motion approved 4-0. Thank you.
We
All right,
lost
so-
Commissioner Blockus, it looks like.
Oh,
No, I'm still here.
Oh, you're there. Okay. You,
okay. All right. Okay. Yeah, so motion approved 4-0. Congratulations. Let's move on to the next item, SC 21-0002 for 270 Sunkist Lane. Let's have a staff make a presentation.
Good evening, Chair Ma, Commissioners. The project before you tonight is a design review application for a second-story addition to a one-story house. The project will include 313 square foot addition at the second story. In addition, the project does include a 600 square foot attached accessory dwelling unit, which is not part of the design review application. The design review application, again, is for a second story addition. It's located in the center of the structure, which is the crosshatch lines area located here. The 604 square foot dwelling unit is proposed to be a 314 square foot of existing floor area converted for an ADU, and an addition of 290 square feet, which will also be converted for a combined 604 square feet. Again, as noted in the report, the ADU is not part of the design review application. In regards to the ADU, once the DRC provides recommendation for the new two-story house, the ADU will be reviewed administratively by the Community Development Director. This slide provides a front elevation with the second-story addition for 270 Sunkist Lane. The subject property is located on Sunkist Lane, which is a long cul-de-sac street on the north side of Elman Avenue. The neighborhood along Sunkist Lane is considered a consistent character neighborhood in the city's residential design guidelines. The residences in the neighborhood share, again, similar setbacks, simple formed hip and gable roof structures, and common materials include horizontal wood siding and stucco siding. The homes in the neighborhood context along Sunkist Lane are primarily single-story homes. The home to the right of the subject property at 288 Sunkist Lane is a two-story home. And in the immediate neighborhood context, there are two-story houses in the immediate neighborhood context. There are no proposed floor area additions to the main floor tied directly to the residence. All the additions are for the ADU. Staff does note that the second-story addition, which is for a bedroom and bathroom, does not have a stairwell leading from the main floor to the second floor. Instead, access to the unit will be provided from a stairwell along the rear of the structure, and the applicant could speak to the basis for having exterior access to the bedroom. At the second story, the applicant is proposing a 313 square foot second story addition for a new bedroom and bathroom. It is again centered over the first story and will expand into the existing attic area. The existing home has a traditional style design with simple massing, with front gable roof forms, details consistent with the design of other houses in the neighborhood context. The project design maintains existing materials. Staff does believe the overall bulk and scale of the elevations are reduced by the incorporation of the second story forms within the existing roof forms. The project reduces the perception of bulk by proposing low 8-foot tall wall plates at the second story, and by utilizing the salt box roof form, and again, horizontal siding to diminish the overall bulk and scale of the structure. On the left and the right side of the structure, there are no windows being proposed to create any potential privacy impacts. Along the rear elevation, there are 2 windows and French doors with side lights. One window in bedroom is for bedroom 4. Will have a 3.75-foot sill height. There will be a set of French doors, and then one window will have a 3.75-foot sill height. The balcony directly off the master bedroom is 10 feet wide by 4 feet deep. It primarily faces the rear yard, and its views to the side property lines are diminished by the gable forms on each side. The balcony depth of 4 feet does comply with residential design guidelines, which recommends a 4-foot maximum depth to create a more passive use for a balcony. The applicant did provide a sightline study on sheet A1D. It shows existing roof forms and existing proposed trees along the side property line and proposed evergreen screening along the rear property line to obscure sight lines and maintain a reasonable degree of privacy. Staff does believe with the views obscured by the existing gable forms on either side of the balcony and the proposed screening and setbacks to the rear property lines, that the rear facing balcony and rear windows will not create unreasonable privacy impacts. The landscape plan includes a variety of shrubs and ground cover plants throughout the site. There are 4 trees on the property. The applicant does propose to retain all trees. The project plan plans to preserve existing landscaping. Staff does note, like the previous project, if the applicant does rehabilitate significantly the landscaping greater than 2,500 square feet, condition 5 will require compliance with the city's water fishing regulations. The applicant has provided an outreach letter which conveys their involvement and response from the public, and they're available to convey their interaction with residents and the result of their outreach. This concludes staff's presentation. Unless there are any questions, thank you.
None.
All right, thank you, Sean. Okay, any question from other commissioners?
No.
I was going to be funny. Sean, is the ADU part of the design review process? just to be clear, Sean.
I know, I'm trying.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, I have one question. Maybe Sean, you can help me to understand. I know that it looks like the site plan, there are some proposed new tree or shrub, wax myrtle along the rear yard line, right? Sean, you're muted. You're muted.
Yes, there are. Yes, those were so staff was concerned with potential openings between existing landscaping, and we asked that they propose evergreen screening to fill in openings along property lines, and that's a proposal from the applicant.
Okay, how many of them? It looks like 4 or 5, right?
5, correct.
Okay, all right. Do we have any size specified for the proposed wax myrtle? Any proposed size?
Yeah, typically the size are minimum 15-gallon. The city's experience with smaller size plantings is they seem to grow at a much faster rate due to their smaller size than larger size plantings. However, if the commission felt it's necessary to have them plant a larger box size, then that could be a condition by the commission.
Okay, all right. Thank you, Sean. I have no further question. All right. So if there's no other question from commission, I would like to call the applicant or architect.
Yes, Walter Chapman is the architect. Designer.
I'm available.
Okay. Would you like to speak about this project?
Yes, I would. I don't know if needed, I might need to ask Sean to allow me to share my screen. I don't know if it's that critical. I'm going to discuss the project briefly, and if there's any questions from the commissioner, I can either request that Sean go to a certain page, or I could ask him to let me share screen. Basically, I designed the original house in 1998. So the same property owner, he's lived in the neighborhood for 22 years. And his personal needs have changed in the last few years, which has led to him reaching out to me. And the solution that we came up with was to do an integrated ADU. And in the process of doing an integrated ADU, we are taking 330 square feet of the original house, an original bedroom and bathroom, and using it for the ADU. What we wanted to do then was to replace that bedroom and bathroom that we're losing with another one. And the only place that we had reasonable to do it was as a second-story addition. With the style of the architecture, having dormer windows and a 1.5-story look on the street side, it was very easy to develop a salt box roof line to accommodate the upper floor bedroom and bath. We did need, however, to provide an outdoor access to the room because we did not have enough square footage to build an interior staircase. It's an ironic situation. We have room for an interior staircase, but if we build an interior staircase, it counts twice as floor area. That's the city zoning rule. So we were not able to do a staircase, even though there's room for one inside, because it would add another 120 square feet of floor area, even though it's not physically adding any mass to the building. So being that the city can't grant variances for floor area, and there's nothing unusual about the site property to support it, we opted for the outside staircase. And this works very well for the property owner's needs because they have children of different ages. And this will work as a bedroom and bathroom for an adult child until at what point it may become then an office for the property owner. So the outside staircase actually works for them. It meets all the rules for zoning rules and building code, plus providing a safety egress from an upper floor. So with all that said, the only real issue now was that we comply with floor areas, height rules, daylight planes, setbacks. The only issue remaining had to do with privacy screening concerns for the neighbors. And as I've mentioned, Mr. Kolstad's lived here for 22 years and has always been very respectful of his neighbors. And he would like to address how he would like to solve the screening issue concerns of the rear neighbor. Now, I do want to point out that our second story is 64 feet away from the rear property line. The two adjoining 2-story houses are at 50 feet away from the rear property line. So the distance, we exceed 15 feet more than the adjoining property neighbors, and we're 40 feet further away than the required setback for this upstairs room. Thank you, Sean, for showing that graphic. So you can see at 64 feet away for the addition, the house to the right side is at 50 feet away. So we were very sensitive in where we placed the second story from 2 standpoints. We wanted to integrate it into the attic so it's virtually unseen. And we also wanted to make sure that, again, privacy concerns were not an issue because of the great setbacks we provided. So I would like to leave a few minutes for the property owner to speak. And I'd like to reserve the ability to answer any questions should the commissioners have any. So with that, I'd like to pass the floor to the property owner, Chris Kolstad.
Hi.
Thank you.
If that's okay, if I could share my screen. I think I can't start sharing until somebody else allows me to share.
You can share now, sir.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great. And all this new stuff with the system preferences.
Oh, come on, Chris.
Hold on.
Figure it out. You can do it.
Oh my goodness. Ring Central. Oh shoot. I have to quit and rejoin Ring Central. Walter, do you have the app? Do you have it so I can and I can just talk to it?
Oh, maybe let me see if I can.
Otherwise, I'm going to have to leave and rejoin, which I'm happy to do.
Let me open up an email, and I will.
My other camera.
And I will do it that way. 1 second, please. Technology is so much fun. All right, so I have your.
Well, Walter and Chris, is there a specific slide? Because Sean and I can pull it up very quickly if you send it to us. So.
No, it's a presentation I did to address the rear neighbor's concerns that I saw that he had posted, as well as the side neighbors.
Okay.
So I literally went up on the roof and took pictures and that kind of thing.
You send it to Sean and I, we can easily share it with everybody.
Okay, I'm happy to do that.
Chris, do that because then it goes right onto the ring to Sean's presentation.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm not as familiar with Ring Central as I am with Zoom.
Okay, I'm just going to call it 270 Sunkist. And I assume you have PowerPoint?
We do. We all have PowerPoint.
Okay. Okay, it is sent. Okay, in the meantime, I see Susan has a question. I don't know if you want me to address questions while we're waiting for you to get it and bring it up. I'm happy to answer anything, and I assume Susan's over on Alicia?
No, that's let's wait till commission.
Okay.
We're not to public
yet.
Okay.
Yeah, not yet. Yeah.
Chris,
I see a hand up.
Finding it, Sean or Guido?
I don't have it in my inbox yet. So.
I do not. Oh, I think it just showed up.
Perfect. So,
Let go.
Are you able to share?
Yes, I'm going to do it right now.
perfect. Thanks, Sean.
Okay, great. Thank you. Okay, so what I attempt to do, this is a picture from, oh, go back, there you go, from my backyard, basically from that gazebo that you saw in the earlier pictures. And so what I did here is showed like the exact spot where the, where the addition will be kind of layered on top of an actual photo of the house. So you can see down below, I actually showed some reference points. You see that the edge of the house, the edge of the addition for the north portion is roughly in line with, it's just to the right of the window over the sink in the kitchen. You can see that left-hand line. And on the right-hand side, it basically falls at the mullion, just prior to the mullion of the window. That larger window. So yellow lines basically show the outline of where the house, the addition will be, and then the that other block there is basically where the balcony would be. And then I also took another portion of the plans and I did a scaled picture of it, and I mapped it straight to the roof of the house.
Is that the next
so you can
screen
see
you want us to
exactly
go to?
how high and what width the addition will be on the back.
John,
So
can
you
you
can
move
see
to the next?
from that position, it's completely obscured by the tree, on the back. And so what I did is I went up on the roof and I went from basically where the balcony would be, and I took pictures. So you can see those are eyeballs there. The top one is basically looking from the gazebo back, and so that's where it would be through that large tree. The one at the left is looking directly south, and as you can see, it's mostly obscured by the ridge line, as we talked about earlier. And to the right, it's also obscured by the ridge line and a bunch of trees. I then went directly over those locations that I talked about earlier for the balcony, and I took pictures straight out so you could see what the visuals are from that location. So the one on the left, you can see where the trunk of that large tree is. That is to the southern portion of the balcony, and the one on the far right is to the right portion of that balcony. And then basically in the middle of the balcony, I took a picture of what you could see if you look diagonal out to the northwest corner of the house. So you can see, you really can't see anything, from that position. If you go Sean, if you could do one more slide. Okay, so my neighbors to the rear of us had presented some pictures from their home. And so I did the same thing using their pictures so that we could see what the impact would be from the locations that they specified. So I did the same thing. I mapped it straight to the roof, and you can see I used, as reference those the vents that are on the roof and whatnot to map that straight across. So this would be an actual rendering. And so you can see that even in the leftmost one, where he's in the leftmost portion of his property, the balcony is completely obscured by the tree. And in the rightmost one, even the entire building is mostly obscured by the tree. So, with the addition of, some additional screening in the back, you really shouldn't be able to see anything at all. And that's it. We don't need to go to the last slide. That's just leave it at that.
Okay, all right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any question from the commissioner for the property owner or the architect?
No.
No? Okay, I don't have a question either. So before we proceed to commissioner discussion, we'd like to call anyone from the public who would like to speak.
Hello? Can you guys hear us?
Yes, we can.
Hey, yeah, we're the residents from the rear side, the Cafton family on Alicia Way. Good evening, and thanks for having us. And we wanted to thank the Kolstad family also for reaching out to us the other day and letting us know that this was going on. We just want to add a few comments. The biggest issue that we have with the addition right now is the fact that there's no entrance within the interior of the house. And the only entryway is through the balcony out in the front. And we fear that that would become a high traffic corridor that would, it does provide slight vantage points throughout the yard. It was a little bit hard to see in those photos, but you can see it slightly around the area where we have our pool. But the biggest issue is we actually have an ADU adjacent to that area, right alongside the fence. And we're worried that there would be light pollution and also noise from that traffic corridor. We appreciate that, the proposal to add more evergreens and hedges. We're worried that might not be the best fix. In that area in the past, actually, we've had hedges previously and actually a cherry tree. And for whatever reason, bushes keep on dying there. And we're not really quite sure why. So, any hedge that's placed there is not necessarily a permanent addition, whereas the addition to the home is. So that's where our main concerns are right now.
All right, thank you. Any question from Commissioner? All right. Okay, if that's the case, anyone from, we still have anyone else from the public before we?
Chair Ma, we do have one more person.
Yeah. I'm sorry, what, can I just make a quick comment?
Absolutely, absolutely.
Okay. Excellent. I'm the neighbor at 279 Alicia Way. My only comment has to do with screening, and when the neighbor right next door did build the ADU, it was in the plans that they were required to build to plant trees for screening, and only one was ever planted. So what is the follow-up and making sure that the screening is truly put in place?
That's a question for the staff, right, Guido?
Yes. So to the chair. So,
or Sean, yes.
Yeah, so both the conditions of approval require the screening vegetation. There's also a condition that requires staff confirm at time of occupancy that the screening vegetation is in place. At times, and so staff will visit the site and confirm that the vegetation is planted. At times, vegetation does die. They do have lifespans, plants do. So the conditions are for the, run with the land. And so if at any time, 5, 10 years from now, the greening vegetation does die, the conditions require, consistent with the approved plans, that the plants have to be replanted. So if we learn 10 years from now that the plants have died or been removed, if we are advised, we will contact the owners, whoever they may be, if the Kolstads or others, and we will request that they replant the trees back. And so there is a formal process to make sure that those are planted. And so if you see that issue with your neighboring property, please let us know and we could try to address that for you.
Excuse me, Chairman Mao?
Yeah.
Is it possible for Mr. Kolstad to speak to that issue again as a rebuttal, just for clarification? Or Chris, do you desire to?
Real quick, so the chair is in charge of the meeting. This is the part of the meeting where the community comments, and then the chair can give discretion if he wants the architect or the applicant to rebuttal, but that's really at the
So it's no longer standard that there's a rebuttal period?
Walter, the chair is in charge of this meeting, and right now we're still trying to get comments from the public. So if you would just hold off for a couple minutes, and it's at the chair's discretion if there's additional time he wants to allocate. But for now, we're still trying to get comments from all members of the public, okay?
All right, thank you, Guido. Yes, Walter, we'll try to have all the public have a chance to speak first. And then we'll decide if we want to allow some time for the property owner to rebuttal. Okay, so let's try to see if the neighbor finishes or any other from anyone else from the neighbor want to speak.
Yeah, I have one more, Chair Ma, Kirsten Kolstad. Kirsten, did you want to speak?
I'm Chris's wife. I'm good.
Oh.
I like what he's planning.
Okay, sounds good.
She's why we have to build it. She's got 2 kids too.
Sounds good. Well, I just wanted,
Okay.
I believe everybody's accounted for, Chair Ma.
Okay. So before we close to the public, let's have one more chance for the property owner to rebuttal. Go ahead, Chris.
Okay. Yeah. Susan, I just want to acknowledge your concern, and I feel for you. I had the same issue with the SLU, and so I'll do my best to be a good neighbor. Sean, if you want to bring up the last slide that I held back. You're showing a Word doc. Perfect. Okay. If you make that full screen. So I just want to say I feel for you, because this is what I see from my back fence. The neighbors to the rear were supposed to put in screening as a part of the occupancy of the SLU, which I think is what you're referring to as well. And, over a decade ago, and, clearly it's not screened. And this is what I see every day, looking out my window. Anyway, I will do my best to make sure that you don't have the same issue.
All right. Thank you. Thank you. All right. So we're gonna have a discussion among commissioner. Who would like to go first this time?
I'll go. Yep, I like the project. I think it's. I'm happy that they're finding this solution to their situation, as was indicated in a letter earlier to the commission. And I think that I'm in favor of it, and I think it's a good project.
All right. Thank you. Thank you, Sam. Commissioner Blockus?
Yeah, I got a couple of things. Not necessarily for or against the project, but I think it's kind of goofy that we can't get a stairway internal that doesn't affect the square footage to have the issue come up with an external stairway. So something that staff might look at, or we look at, or something down the line or whatnot. Yeah, I like the project. I think the stairway with the balcony, we're always going to have balcony issues, but I think there is sufficient reasonable privacy expectations for all the surrounding properties relative to this addition. It is a minor addition as far as size and scope. It fits in well, so I'm in support of it.
All right. Thank you. Commissioner Couric?
Similar thoughts. It's a little surprising they couldn't find a solution for an internal staircase, which would be, make the unit more functional. But the Los Altos has some peculiar rules when it comes to double volume spaces, where you can have a 24-foot high living room that counts as 1 times square footage, whereas a staircase counts 2 times square footage. So I think it's a little planning code glitch that needs to be addressed in the future somehow, some way. But the way they described it, I think the architect, Mr. Chapman, has done a great job integrating it. So the balcony to me is at minimum size, and the frequency of the stair use, I think, is going to be not high use. So I can support it with the understanding that additional screening is going to be put in place, and everybody's going to work with the neighbors. So I'm in favor of the project.
Okay, thank you. Yes, and Same feeling from the commissioners, their input and comments. I'm in favor of the project. Again, the second floor addition, it's small. Consider the existing ground floor size. You know, that the access with the stair, external stair, is not common, but in this case, the zoning code, like what Commissioner Currick said, it's very strange. We double count. I never thought of that. That's a very interesting point you bring up. You know, that double height space only count once, but still have to count it twice for the floor area. I do have a little minor concern. I mean, just kind of have the staff be aware. Does that need to be conditioned? You know, since the neighbor concerned about the size pretty far, you know, between the two houses over 100 feet or maybe a lot more than 100 feet away. I understand that balcony, that access balcony, by building code, we need to have some kind of light, external light, exterior sconce or something per building code. So, you know, in this case, I don't know where the light is not showing on the elevation. It's not required this time, but doing the building permit, that there's some kind of light need to be put it on the wall or somewhere. So that's something to be aware that the light should be shielded or something, just for the staff and the architect to be aware. Otherwise, the design is very nice. The architect did a very good one from the you know, that every perspective. So yeah, I like it. So we should start getting the motion going.
I'll make a motion that we approve design review application SC 21-002270 Sunkist Lane, subject to the listed findings and conditions.
Okay.
I second.
All right. So let's make a vote. Commissioner Blockus?
Aye.
Commissioner Currick?
Aye.
Commissioner Harding?
Aye.
So aye. Motion approved, 4-0. Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you very much for your time this evening. My clients are, I'm sure, greatly relieved they can finally move to the next stage.
All right.
Thank you so much.
All right, thank you. Okay, so our next one, discussion item number 6, notice of development proposal signs.
Yeah.
Guido.
Yeah,
Go
so
ahead.
we spoke a couple meetings back about ways to improve the process for DRC. And one of the real easy low-hanging fruits was trying to encourage more community outreach early on in the process. Currently, as the city's been at least a year and a half that I've been in Los Altos, we're only mandating notifying the neighbors 2 weeks before a meeting. And then we put up a very small sign out front, 11 by 17 at the most. And even in the year and a half that I've been here, I've been a little bit concerned that, you know, a real foundational principle of urban planning is to get input from the community. And so trying to take the notice of development proposal, there's some background, moving papers around.
That's me, sorry.
It's okay. So what I'm proposing, let me put up on the screen, and I just wanted to get the DRC's input and consent. Can everybody see?
Yes.
Yeah.
So this is the basic format of the notice of development proposal that we use for more larger scale projects. And this is what I wanted to get the input from the DRC on is I'm really advocating that we make customers put up this notice within 30 days of submittal to the city and keep it up for the duration of the planning process. And so that was the first decision point. I wanted to get some feedback from the commission. And then for the larger scale projects, the signs are 4 feet by 6 feet, which seem kind of large for a house. And so Sean and I were kicking around the idea of potentially dropping it to 2 feet by 3 feet, which seems reasonable. I've used that in other cities. It's large enough where if you're walking by, you really can see the sign. So those were
I
the
agree.
those were the two critical decision points. I wanted to get some input, and yeah, kind of open it back up to the chair, the rest of the commission.
I think it's a good idea.
Okay. Any thoughts or comments?
No, I think that's it's all good.
Okay.
Can you scroll down a little bit because I only see part of the sign. Yeah. Okay. So it's pretty much the drawing size 24 by 36.
Yeah.
The height to the top. So it's applicant. They need to provide their own, install some kind of post to support it. Huh?
Right.
What about the sign? What kind of material should they print it on a board or some kind of what's the standard material?
Most cities have the language that's here: durable and weatherproof material.
Okay.
So
Now, will this be put onto the homeowner, or is this is not an expense of the city, is it?
no, what normally occurs is somebody will give us a rendering, give us a description. We will approve it and say, go to Kinko's or your local print shop, put it on a durable, weatherproof material, post it, and then take a picture of it and then send it back to staff.
Good. I think it should be part of, maybe it already is, in the application process, because this obviously is a bigger piece and has some expense related to it, particularly putting in I think of the real estate people that have the business of putting in and taking out, advertising signs. So it's not a small chore, but should be explained to future projects.
Okay, sounds good.
Guido, is this a template that you would give them? That
yes.
They could just, okay. So it's all there. All they have to do is input their description and then basically take that PDF or whatever down to Kinko's and print it out, right?
Exactly.
On some kind of board.
Or,
Yeah. Sorry.
Go ahead.
Well, I just think it's a great idea. The only thing I would say, in there that there's some kind of verbiage. Obviously, they're going to describe the project, but you should say something along the lines that this project is currently under consideration or in the staff review for a future public hearing, and your input is welcome at this time. We encourage you to go to City Hall or city website. Can people view projects in advance of there actually being a scheduled meeting?
Yes. We have a whole webpage dedicated to like these type of projects.
Upcoming, more in the public realm, but not in the private realm, right? If I come down and I'm in early discussions with you on a project, is the public welcome to see those drawings that we might leave with you? Absolutely. Or does a formal submission have to be made?
Yeah, anything I do is a public record. If it has the architect's stamp, we can't give away the plans because that's the architect's property. But if somebody comes to City Hall, or during COVID, what we've been doing is if somebody really wants to look at the plans and it has the architect's stamp, then we can send a PDF, but they're not able to print it off. So we're able to modify the settings of the PDF.
Okay, I think it's a great idea.
Okay.
Yeah.
And just add a little, you might want to add a little graphic of where that sign has to be posted. Because, I know you say you describe it within 3 feet of the front property line, but, over the years, we've seen signage posted everywhere.
Okay. Will do.
Yeah. I think it's a good idea of making it bigger and more obvious to the neighbor. My only question is, or suggestions try to streamline for the applicants on the sign. Streamline, that means like the, which printing shop or something, and then the material, and also the weatherproof, because the sign gonna stay there for several months, most of the time, from the time they start the application to the time they got approved.
I didn't get.
Yeah. So that's my.
Jeremiah, the reality is most of these applicants are going to be working with architects and designers that have the capability to put this together pretty easily. It's just a matter of, having the template there that, one more thing for them to do.
Yeah. The like Palo Alto, they have a contract printing shop that not contract that the city contract, but the applicant pay for it. So the applicant, so the city send the material to the printing shop, and the applicant or architect pick it up and pay for like $20 or something.
Yeah.
So that's what I mean for streamline. So they don't have to go to different printing shop and get different type of I mean the format and the material will be more consistent. The price will be more consistent.
Okay.
That's more convenient for the applicant.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sounds good.
Sounds
Okay.
good.
I will add a graphic to show where we want it. I will put a little blurb about what we want in the project description, and please speak with the assigned city planner, or I might just put in the planning at losaltosca.gov. And then probably put in a little blurb about if the sign is damaged, you must replace the sign during the planning phase of the project. So.
Yeah. Okay. Great.
All right. Sounds good.
Okay. Thank you. Anything else we want to discuss?
I'm really hoping that through this process that we don't get what I've seen at least 3 or 4 times since I've been here, where people get very, very upset because they didn't know supposedly about the project.
Right.
And then the other thing I've seen is, I meet with the applicants and the staff, and then the applicant will swear up and down that they talked to the neighbors, and then lo and behold, the neighbor shows up and says, "I'd never heard about this project at all."
Right.
Yeah.
I think it will certainly help in that.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Sounds good.
All right.
Let's see, Chairman Ma, I had asked Guido to give us some information about ADUs, and maybe can you do that?
Yeah, absolutely. It's under, future. Yeah, so we approved 62 ADUs last year. That was way up from the 18 or 24 the year before I started with the city. I am a little bit late. I do need to update some of our forms and handouts. We do get quite a few ADU questions every week, and that's on me. I need to kind of spend a little bit of time putting some more material on the city website. But yeah, we've been approving quite a few. And on Wednesday, the 27th, or is that next week, the 26th? Let me check on my calendar.
26, yeah, 26.
Yeah, there's the Los Altos Affordable Housing League is putting together a forum, and you guys are all welcome to come to that. A couple customers who've done ones with us within the last year and a half are going to speak, and then some different ADU companies are going to come, and then hopefully I'm going to get some good feedback in terms of what we can do better, and maybe hear what other cities are doing so I can help improve the process to make it more streamlined. So, yeah.
So that's next Wednesday. Sorry. Go ahead.
One of my questions was ADUs, kind of in my naive prior thinking about it, I thought that ADUs directly affected our housing situation, meaning that these could or would or should be low or under current rates. And in reading the article in the Town Crier today, it said that that's not true, that there's no exclusivity or benefit in the calculation of how many living units at these low-income categories are directly related to ADUs. So I was a little, I thought.
Well, so they're actually wrong on that, Sam, Commissioner Harding. So I need to show ABAG, MTC, and HCD, kind of give them how many units we've been building the last 2 or 3 years. And then they're going to use that number. And then ABAG MTC is actually doing a regional study of how all of these ADUs shake out in terms of the income level. And then based on that regional study, and then I also put into the ordinance that the council adopted that we would do our own survey of these. Based on those 2 numbers, we will be able to tell HCD and ABAG MTC that X percentage of the ADU should be counted at different income levels.
Okay, good.
That actually is what we're trying to aim for, to try to hopefully, because you're all aware our new RENA number is 1,958, which is quite a bit. And so if we can at least get some of those units to be allocated towards the ADUs, that really helps out the community. So
yeah, good, thank you.
No problem.
Okay. Anything else we want to discuss, or what's coming for the potential future upcoming agenda?
Yeah, what's coming up next? Let me show you guys. 1 second. Hold on. Right now, so I will bring it back. We've got 1, 2, 3 items for June 2nd.
Mm-hmm.
And then we've got 2 items on June 16th. I will not be at this meeting. Steve Golden will run that meeting. So
okay.
And then July 7th, we also have, so yeah, the next 3 meetings, we actually have quite a bit going on, so.
Okay, all right. Okay.
That's it on my
That July 7th, 41 Marvin, that's as I recall, that's a historical house.
Yeah, we probably shouldn't speak about that one too much right now, but yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. All right then. Anything else? Otherwise, I'm gonna have
Thank
the meeting
you.
Adjourned.
Thank
All right.
Thank you.
Guido, this is
Nice
Anita.
to see you
Guido,
all.
would you stay on for a minute?
Oh.
I think that's Anita wanting
Yeah, sorry, it's
Guido into
Anita.
private session.
But
Okay.
once you've adjourned, I want to just chat with Guido for a minute.
Okay. All right. All right.
Okay.
Meeting adjourned.
Bye.
Okay. Thank you, everybody. All right.